Most people think happiness is all about wealth, health, or success. But when researchers looked across centuries, countries, and cultures, one factor keeps showing up again and again. And it's not what most people expect. From Gallup to Harvard, from Pew Research to the World Value Survey, the data all points in the same direction. Those who live a spiritual/religious life tend to be significantly happier. Therefore, maybe religion isn't just an old tradition or superstition. Maybe it's one of humanity's most consistent, evidence-based paths to a flourishing life. Which may be why Grandma's always smiling. She's been right all along, and we're just catching up with the data now. Researchers at Time set out on a quest to see what made people happy. But to their surprise, they discovered study after study has found that religious people tend to be less depressed and less anxious than non-believers. Gallup Research conducted a series of in-depth studies on the effects of religion on well-being. They discovered that the very religious rate their lives more positively, are less likely to ever have been diagnosed with depression, and experience fewer daily negative emotions. But it's not merely religious identity that makes the difference. Those who engage in religious activity by attending services regularly have been shown to have greater levels of happiness. Gallup found that weekly religious service attendees are in fact more likely to say they are very satisfied than those who make $100,000 or more in annual household income. Studies by Pew Research Center found similar results. They found that participation in a religious community clearly is linked with higher levels of happiness and civil engagement. But that was not all. Pew also found that the very happy people were significantly more likely to be religious. Whatever the explanation may be, more than 1/3 of actively religious U.S. adults, 36%, described themselves as very happy, compared to just 1/4 of both inactive or unaffiliated Americans. Now, perhaps I'm just cherry-picking the data to suit my argument. Nope. Looking at numerous published peer-reviewed studies on the metadata show the same trends. A review of 3,300 studies published in peer-reviewed journals between 1872 and 2010 concluded that a large volume of research shows that people who are more religious/spiritual have better mental health and adapt more quickly to health problems, compared to those who are less spiritual/religious. A systematic review of 850 studies out of Brazil concluded that the majority of well-conducted studies found that higher levels of religious involvement are positively associated with indicators of psychological well-being, and with less depression, suicidal thoughts, and behaviors such as drug, alcohol use/abuse. A review of 444 studies over the last 50 years between 1962 and 2011 shows religious involvement has been associated with positive emotions such as greater life satisfaction, well-being, hope, optimism, and meaning and purpose in life, feelings which help to neutralize the negative emotions that underlie depression and suicide. They concluded that the systemic review discussed above indicates many more studies showing positive benefits from religious/spiritual engagement compared to those that show positive harm, 61% versus only 6% of studies. Metadata agrees, religion is good for well-being. Now, some viewers may be wondering, is it possible that the benefits we see from religious involvement are actually attributed to other factors, like age, wealth, communal engagement perhaps? Nope. Pew Research Center reports that even after advanced statistical analysis controlling for age, gender, education, income, and marital status, being more religious is associated with a greater likelihood of being very happy, belonging to a non-religious organization, always voting, drinking infrequently, and not smoking. But what about controlling for community involvement? Maybe the benefits we see are just due to the pro-social benefits of being part of a group. 2015 survey by the researchers at the London School of Economics and the Erasmus University Medical Center in the Netherlands found that participation in a religious organization was the only social activity associated with sustained happiness, even more than volunteering for a charity, taking educational courses, or participating in a political or community organization. It's as if a sense of spirituality and an active social religious practice were an effective vaccine against the virus of unhappiness. Religious/spiritual development appears to lead to more healthy societies. As the Albany County study found, using data collected from a number of years, researchers examined spirituality, religion, and mortality. The results of these studies indicated high levels of religious involvement are associated with lower rates of death by specific causes, including diseases such as circulatory diseases, digestive diseases, respiratory diseases, and all causes combined. The results indicated that for women, the protective effects of weekly attendance at a religious event was strong and fell roughly between never smoking a cigarette and regular physical activity. New research found similar results, saying actively religious Americans are more likely than unaffiliated to report very good health even after advanced statistical analysis controlled for age, education, and other demographic factors. Also, religious affiliation is one of the best predictors of healthy demographics in a country, with those who are religious having significantly more kids than those who are not. As you can see, religion would appear to be an important part of a healthy and flourishing society. Now, correlation does not necessarily mean causation, but in this case, there may be good reason to suspect that spiritual development and happiness are causally connected. Since the 1990s, religion has been steadily declining. But what about happiness? If the two trends are linked, decline in one should appear in the other. And this is exactly what we see. In the United States, since the 1990s, happiness and mental health have been drastically declining. This trend is especially pronounced among the youth. Furthermore, the decline can be subdivided by sex. For much of the modern era, women reported higher levels of religiosity and greater happiness than men in developed countries. But as women have grown less religious since the 1990s, their happiness has fallen sharply, with some studies now finding that men report greater well-being than women. This is all the more surprising given how far women have advanced socially in the last several decades. Therefore, one might be expected that their happiness to rise, yet paradoxically it has declined. This suggests that material and social advancement alone cannot fulfill the deeper needs of the human spirit. Women, despite their social and economic achievements, find themselves more unhappy than they have been in the last 100 years. Religion is not the only path to happiness, but as you can see, it is one of the most reliable and consistent paths to happiness across time, culture, and circumstance. Thanks for your time. May God bless you and your family.